Okay, so hello. Welcome to today's live stream. I'm Daphne, and it's been maybe a couple of weeks, few weeks since I've been doing the live streams. But if you were here maybe a couple weeks ago, you'll remember that we did Proverbs, and that was a part one. So today we are doing part two because there's just so many different proverbs we can use. Okay. So just a little recap. A proverb basically is a short, well-known saying that usually gives you some kind of life advice, some kind of word of wisdom, or expresses a general truth. And last time we went over a couple of these proverbs. One of them would be right here. Practice makes perfect, which just means that the more you do something, the better you get at it. Then we have actions speak louder than words, which also means that if you do something or if you say something, it's better to show with action than just empty words. And these were from last time's live stream. So today we'll be going through a bunch more. And if you would like, please feel free to comment into the chat your favorite proverbs. If you have any questions about any of the proverbs we did last time, or if you wanted to bring those up again, feel free to type those in. Okay. So now we have the difference between proverbs and idioms. And I think maybe some of you missed it early on. I said my name is Daphne. So if you've seen me before from previous live streams, I'm here occasionally. So yes. Okay, now back to proverbs versus idioms. So last time somebody asked a great question, which is what is the difference between a proverb and an idiom? So a proverb is basically a well-known saying that has been used for a long time, and usually it will give you some kind of practical advice or ways that you should behave. An idiom is just a common saying with a meaning that's different than what the actual words are. So simply it's a figurative expression. So for example, an idiom would be like break the ice, which just means to initiate a conversation, start the meeting. So that is basically the biggest difference. And I see a lot of people commenting. Hello, good morning from Nepal. Ooh, nice. Have not been to that country yet, but would love to visit. I love Nepalese food. It's really good. Okay, so before we actually get into the idioms, this is your last chance to enroll in one of the best classes and courses that we have, which is our weekly 1-hour live group classes. And this will be starting on the week of June 24th, 2025. And basically you will be joining 4 other students and learning from English Class 101's very own teachers. And this is a 10-week online course. You get to learn all from the comfort of your home. These are small group classes, which, according to studies, is the best way to learn. And you get to participate more in a small group class. You get more attention from the teacher. And this will basically help you improve faster. So this is the last chance for you to, as you can see right here next to me, this is your last chance to enroll in these classes. Just in general, group classes are more fun, and you'll get to speak English with real people. So if you've always wanted to learn faster and in a small group, this is your chance. So feel free to click the link in the description and it will bring you right here, and you can read the overview of what you will be getting and what the course and classes will be like. I definitely and highly recommend you to check that out. Okay. Now moving on to Proverbs. So we have quite a number today to go through. The first one that we have right here on the board is when in Rome, do as the Romans do. And this just means that when you're in a country, you should follow the local customs, the rules, etc. So the example that I have on the board is you cannot be picky about the food in a foreign country. You have to make do with the local food. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. So basically, when you're in a foreign country, you want to follow their rules, their customs, and maybe not, in this case, be picky about the food. Okay, so we have number 2, which says a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, which just means that even the strongest group won't be that effective if one part of it is weakened or missing or not great. And here is the example, which is very long. All of these slides, you'll be able to have a copy later on, but let me just go through this without reading it all. But basically, maybe you and your friend go to a restaurant and the food was amazing, but the service was horrible. So you might say a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, because it's a shame that the food was great, but the service was bad. So ultimately, it really isn't great. Okay, now we have number 3, which says don't put all of your eggs in one basket. And this just means you don't want to put all of your resources, hopes and dreams and time into one specific goal or dream. It's good to diversify. So don't invest all of your money in the stock market. You should never put all your eggs in one basket. So it's good maybe if you're applying for a job, you want to apply to multiple jobs, not just one. And I see a lot of people commenting as well. Hi, I'm from Ecuador. Great. Somebody put fortune favors the brave. Yes, that is actually one of them that we will get through later. Okay. So now we have number 4, which says don't put off until tomorrow what you can do today, which basically means don't procrastinate. So if you can do something today, if you have the time, don't wait until tomorrow. So maybe in this example, you have 6 hours of free time now. You should start on that final psychology assignment. Don't put off until tomorrow what you can do today. So if you have the time, why not get started? It's better to get it done than to push it off and wait until the last minute. And again, if you have comments and questions, feel free to send those into the chat. Okay, now we have number 5, easy come, easy go, which means when you make money quickly, it's also very easy to lose that money. So maybe, for example, I won $200 at the casino, and then I spent it all on a very expensive meal for me and some friends. So easy come, easy go. So it was easy for you to win. You got lucky, but then you quickly used it all. Now we're here to this example, which somebody wrote in the chat, fortune favors the bold, or in your case, you wrote the brave. That also works too. So fortune favors the bold, which means that people who have the courage to take risks sometimes are more successful than people who just keep it safe and don't really go out there and put themselves out there or take risks. So this example, it's a risk, but the reward could be great. I say you should go for it. Fortune favors the bold. So maybe you're looking at moving to a different country for a new job, and it could be risky to, take your whole life and move to a different country, but sometimes good things can come out from that. So fortune favors the bold. Okay, next one we have is great minds think alike. This one's a very common one, which basically means that maybe if you and somebody else have the same thought or idea, it just implies that you're both very smart, very clever. So maybe you and your sibling or a friend, whoever it might be, are having a conversation, then you both say the same exact thing, then one of you might say, great minds think alike. So both of you thought of the same thing, you have great minds. And I see people commenting, hello, Thank you for joining. I'm glad you guys are all able to join today. And excuse my voice. I apologize. I tend to lose my voice very easily. Okay, so we have number 8. If you play with fire, you'll get burned, which just means that if you get involved in something that's dangerous or maybe beyond what you can handle, you could experience some negative consequences. So here's the example. You're arguing with the boss a lot. Be careful. If you play with fire, you'll get burned. So you don't want to get into something that maybe isn't that great or isn't in your abilities. Okay. Now we have knowledge is power, which means the more you know, the better, the more powerful you can be in different aspects and areas of your life. So here, the example is when we were kids, our parents taught us how to swim. That knowledge helped me to save my friend's life when he was 5 years old. Knowledge is power. Or maybe you learned CPR and in some accident that you happened to pass by, you were able to use CPR. So then knowledge is power. Okay, and in case you missed it earlier on in the live stream, this is your last chance to enroll in one of the best courses that you could find. And if you click the link in the description, you will be able to enroll in our weekly 1-hour live group classes. It's a 10-week online course. This will start on the week of June 24th, 2025, and you get to learn from the comfort of your own home. You'll join 4 other students and learn from English Class 101's very own teachers. And this will be a small group, which, according to studies, is the best way to learn. And again, it's just more fun. So please don't forget to click the link and check that out, because you will be able to get access to the best teachers and you will get to learn with real people. So if you've always wanted to improve your English, learn faster, this is the way to go. So please click that link and check that out. Okay, now we have the next proverb, which is the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, which just means the apple refers to a kid, a child, and the tree refers to the kid's parents. So it means that generally it's common for kids to be like their parents. Could be in a positive way or a negative way. So this example here just talks about the grandmother. You're telling your grandma how much you like to crochet because your mom likes to crochet. And then your grandmother might say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Now we have practice what you preach. This is an important one to remember. So if you tell someone that they should do something or live a certain way, then you should also be doing that thing or living that way, because otherwise you'll just be hypocritical if you're saying something but not actually doing it yourself. So maybe, for example, you always tell us to arrive early, but you come late. You should practice what you preach. So if you're telling other people to be on time, then it's best if you're also on time. You don't want to be telling them to arrive early, but then you do the opposite. So practice what you preach. Okay, now we have money doesn't grow on trees, which just means that it requires some effort to earn money. So don't keep buying unnecessary things. Money doesn't grow on trees. This is very applicable to actually my life. I tend to buy a lot of things, and I live in Japan, so there's like stores like Daiso, which is cheap, but then sometimes I'll go and buy unnecessary things, which I really don't need, but it's just tempting, so I need to remember, money doesn't grow on trees. Okay, ooh, somebody commented another proverb, good things come to those who wait. Yes, very good, great. Okay, now we have one man's junk is another man's treasure. So maybe what might be junk to one person may be very valuable to somebody else. In this case, I sold my 6-year-old laptop for a little amount, but I'm sure the buyer will make a hefty profit on it by refurbishing and selling it to someone else. One man's junk is another man's treasure, after all. That could be other things, like maybe you have a bunch of coins that you don't really care about, and then you sell them, but somebody else is collecting coins and they're like, wow, this is amazing. So that's treasure to them. Okay, now we have, this one is a very often used one. Two heads are better than one, which just means that it's easier to do something. Sometimes you get better results as a team than just by doing it yourself. Of course, it varies case by case, but generally, if you're working together, you might come to a solution faster. And yes, so here's an example. I'm stuck on this project. Can you help me out? Two heads are better than one. So maybe you're at work and you have a project that you're handling, and it's pretty overwhelming to do all by yourself. So with the help of a colleague or coworker, then it might be done faster and better. So two heads are better than one. Now we have this one. I love cats, so this is sad for me, but it doesn't mean literally. So curiosity, it killed the cat, which just means that sometimes trying to learn more about something can cause more harm than good. Not always, but it could. So a very common example is maybe a child is looking at the stove or the oven, and the child wants to look inside because maybe he or she thinks that there are cookies or if there's like food or something like that. So the parent might warn, curiosity killed the cat. So because if the child touches the oven and it's on, then they can burn themselves, and that is not good. Okay. Now we have our next one, which is slow and steady wins the race. So maybe you've all heard of the fable Tortoise and the Hare, which basically this proverb means that consistent effort often leads to success. So in the story, the tortoise and the hare like sprinted off really quickly and ran and then took a nap. And then the tortoise took his time and kept going, and eventually he won the race. So he worked on his project little by little. Slow and steady wins the race. So if you just make little progress, one at a time, little by little, that will lead you to success. Okay. Again, if you guys have questions or you want to comment some of your favorite proverbs or ones that you haven't seen me talk about, feel free to do so in the chat. Okay, now we have the next one, which is time waits for no one. So time doesn't stop, right? So basically time is precious and doesn't stop for anyone. So he realized he couldn't procrastinate. Time waits for no one. So you should definitely not procrastinate in this example. Okay, now we have better safe than sorry, which means that sometimes it's better to be cautious than to risk making mistakes. So it's better, for example, in this case, to bring an umbrella. And maybe even if it will rain or it might not rain, just in case it does rain, it's better safe than sorry. And okay. The grass is always greener on the other side, which means that people always want what they don't have. So on the other side, the grass looks greener, better. So sometimes I feel like I should have gone for my master's degree like you instead of taking this job. Well, the grass is always greener on the other side. And maybe, let's say in my case, I was living in America and then I wanted to move somewhere. So I might, if my friend moved, I might say, oh, I wish I could move. Just like you, the grass is greener on the other side. Okay, So it's no use crying over spilt milk. This one is basically talking about how you shouldn't be too upset over something that has already happened. So the example that we have right here is the trip was a disaster, but it's no use crying over spilt milk, which means it already happened. You already had the trip. Sure, it was a disaster. Maybe it wasn't great. Maybe you had a fight with your friend. Maybe, you had great food, but in the end, it got ruined because you and your friend had that fight. But it's no use crying over spilt milk. So what's done is already done. It already happened. So that's what that means. And I can see a lot of people commenting. Hello, hello. Feel free to comment where you're from if you have questions, if you want to share your favorite proverb, or maybe there's a proverb that's specific to your culture or your country. I would love to see all of those. Feel free to type all of that into the chat. Okay, so we have, I think, about 3 more proverbs left. So this one over here says, look before you leap, which means that after considering possible consequences, that's when you should act. So you shouldn't just jump into something without really considering all of the possible consequences. So the example that we have on the board right here is your friend wants to rush into buying a new house. You might say to them, it's always better to look before you leap. So maybe it's better for them to check out the neighborhood first, to check out who lives in the area, what is in that area. Are there nice schools, supermarkets, stores? Maybe check out other neighborhoods, other houses. So you should always look before you leap. Don't just jump into it right away before maybe checking out everything. And somebody translated into Spanish. Unfortunately, I am not a Spanish speaker, so if I tried to say that, I would definitely butcher it. But thank you for sending that into the chat. Okay. Oh, okay. So I'm looking right now, and the person who translated the proverb into Spanish translated the one that says there's no need to cry over spilt milk. So don't cry over spilt milk. And that's amazing that you were able to translate that. I could try to say it in Spanish, but it might just sound really bad. No hay que llorar sobre leche derramada, maybe, possibly. Probably butchered it, but Spanish is not my language, unfortunately. Wish it was. I did take classes. Okay, now going back to the live stream, we have our 21st proverb in today's lesson, which is out of sight, out of mind. So people or things that are no longer present can often be forgotten or are easily forgotten. So in the example that I have here, I had a box of old photos in the attic and I hadn't looked at them in ages. They were out of sight, out of mind, so I forgot all about them. So maybe you had this item. So this happens to me a lot. I tend to, like I know before I said I spend a lot of money. And one of the things I buy a lot would be clothes. I buy a lot of clothes, but sometimes I just shove them into my drawer and I don't really go through them. So it becomes out of sight, out of mind. I forget that I have this actually beautiful dress that I could wear, or a really fashionable t-shirt that I could wear, but no, I just shove them away. So they're out of sight, out of mind. Not great. And I should definitely fix that habit. Okay, now we are on to our last proverb. And before we get on to that, I see people commenting. Great let me see, a literal translation of the proverb is the one who wakes up early gets clearer water. Yes, I think I mentioned a similar proverb earlier on before. The early bird gets the worm. So if you start things earlier, you wake up earlier, do things, then you might have a better outcome. Great. Yes, so sometimes proverbs can be said in different ways, and also different countries have maybe different versions of a proverb, but they might have a similar meaning. So again, if you have any proverbs that you would like to share or maybe are specific to your culture, your country, feel free to type those into the chat. I'd love to see them. Okay, so now the last proverb that we have here is ignorance is bliss. And this just means that sometimes if you don't know something or if you don't know much about something, it's better not to bother with it, or you don't really need to know, because in other words, it won't stress you out. So if you don't know something, you won't have to think about it. So in this example, it says, I know I'm on a diet, but I'd rather not find out how many calories this cake has. You know what they say, ignorance is bliss. So maybe health-wise, it's better to know if you are on a diet, but for your own happiness and your own sanity, you see a cake you really want to eat, and you're on a diet, but you just want to enjoy yourself. So it's better not to know the calories, because then you won't be worrying over it or thinking about it. So ignorance is bliss, and that's how this proverb can be used. Okay, so that covers about all, I think it is all, of today's Proverbs. There are definitely way more than what we have in this live stream, and even combined with last time's part 1. There's plenty of Proverbs that are used. These are just some of the ones that I found interesting, or I hear often, or I've used before. So again, if you have questions, comments, type those into the chat. My voice is going a little bit. I am doing my best. Okay, so if you missed this earlier in the live stream, this is your last chance to enroll in one of the best courses that you can find. And the course will start on the week of June 24th, 2025. You can learn English with our weekly 1-hour live group classes. So if you see right next to me, you can get a whole preview of what you will be getting in this course. It's a 10-week online course that you can do from the comfort of your own home, so you don't need to get up and travel, none of that. You get to join 4 other students and learn with English Class 101's very own teachers, and all from your home. These are small group classes, which generally just are fun because it's better than learning by yourself, or reading your own guides online. So I definitely recommend you to click that link in the description and check it out. You'll get to participate more in these classes, have more attention from the teacher, and ultimately improve faster. So you get to speak real English with real people, real teachers, and if you've always wanted to improve your English, learn faster, I definitely recommend you to check that out. So please click that link in the description. Okay, and again, here's a proverb: time waits for no one, so you should definitely check out the link when you can. Okay, so that's it for today's live stream. Please comment your favorite proverb or a proverb that you've used, one of the favorites that you have from your country. And don't forget to tune in for next week's live stream, which is how to explain your likes and dislikes. And this will be with Alicia. So thank you guys for joining, and I will see you guys all another time.